Hi everyone, I'm Shirley May, and this tonight is a cross-section of the young people that we work with. On Wednesday and Thursday of last week, we had a production on at a theatre called Home, and there were 8 young people in there. One person flew back from Canada because they wanted to have the actual original cast in that. Billy was in it, and she's been here half a day. And so Reese was also the producer on that as well. Nicole has flown back from Thailand, where she was also... Sri Lanka. Got that wrong. Sri Lanka, where she's also been doing something for the British Council in her own right as a poet. I just want to introduce this wonderful, wonderful group. They are going to be special, I hope. I'm watching. I'm like a mum over there going, sit up, keep straight. But they are a wonderful group. They all write together. I would say that we are a family, and there is many, many generations of young identity. I'm going to get off, and I'm going to let them do their thing. Okay.
Sits, thick-lipped, grey-haired, unmoving, throws self across the horizon. Vulnerable are the bees cloaked in the still. Even if Mercury covers morning's disappointment well, and the sky fails to pour a glass full enough to keep you safe, the softness of your city will guide you home. An embrace binding confusion and regret and churning out relief. Air sits in motion, taking you in the direction to places that you have never been before. Criss-cross crochet, the grid of this place holds the coordinates to happiness. A population unified in the time of dismay, greeted with a torrent of warmth.
There is no sunshine here, but there is a sun in this city.
All that I ask is you listen to all of the matter that didn't. And thought is a matter of fiction until it's collected in rubble, but this city is paved with the pattern of instinct where burning the church down's respect for the hustle. A legacy muffled in lullabies and rainfall, an ugly slice of the rotten apple. Paint walls a new shade of change, it's still pub crawls for the patron saints. Sniffing to a breadline and hanging from my paper chain, skyscrapers on skyline, dismantling my day to day. I roll with questions for myself and all the answers I'm afraid to say. Trench trudging in back alleys, slumped with the bog bodies, boys in black ballies, invested in the wrong hobbies, never able to act happy. For that they are not sorry, because you can't pave a path from set cement. A picked poppy is done stemming, and silver linings are lost as the sun setting. For a second I forgot I am subletting my turf. I asked for the rent, and they sent me a hearse. I found my adolescence collected in dirt, but I'm not sure anymore what that memory's worth. I could spend forever with dirty knees on burly fields, but born into an early yield with good eggs in bad batches and red-handed blue badges, the products of bad habits. Floss a chain if the noose matches. The truth hatches too tragically to be repeated. Our words were richer when our dreams depleted. Now all of my stories are evil deeded, but writer's block means I'm keeping secrets.
Silence came first, and the world inserted themselves into it, slipped itself into the crevices of an otherwise nothing. Stillness was left to interpretation and prejudice. How do we displace what has only ever and always come before? The wind has a funny way of carrying back all the left behind, bringing back to you all the debris that you forgot to forget to remember. In the aftermath of a choreographed happen chance, the sounds that assaulted us, the phonics that were left uncounted, in a stammer that wasn't always there. This world competes with calm, and we do nothing helpful but question its being here, spending every lip parting on the cramming of nonsense and opinion, persuasion, debate, martyrs, miracles, and poorly worded monsters, mythical in their hiding places. In the static of all else, displace yourselves as you have the silence before you.
Plead to the benevolence that took a life, the daunted angel that sacrificed a friend to the trail of a phoenix tail, the burning eye of desire, a day where love's for higher the mind, the blacker the sacks, the bluer the sacks, the soul that reprogrammed the system that sold secrets to a filtered ear, the never forgotten, a second moon man, the latest dog to howl, the wasted skull prisoner, a universe that may be too weak to form, building the foundations to open space, an infinite singularity wanting to create time, album in a year, a white space with color to be seen, pictures in a smoke screen, pictures in a blue stream, a salt pool and a lucky rock, the green cloud fantasy that stoned a rock, the lucky lockdown of godly wrath, the golden womb lost may be found, and bury the dark one a gangster. The velvet head will never visit that tomb in love, and I pray I give that word without fear in a year. The passion of a tear, the burning of a horizontal cross. Lay down your weapons on a loss. The war to end all wars will end with no survivors. So drop this soul on a never-ending fall, and it will feel just at home. 13 years strong, faking a life of hope. Trust I not, for I trust you not abundantly. Reserve trust for fate and destiny alone. A permanent sleep is the only guarantee that we have left.
I cycle home from work at 6 a.m. The sky is purple and all the clouds are pink. The road's empty and the trees are leaving. The schools are dark and the chip shop's shut. There's empty park, but Boozy Busters is open. I've got Nina in my ear. I've got a cycle lane that's clear and this pleasurable pressure in my chest that I haven't quite figured out yet. I love this quiet time when it's so early and I'm the only one in the world awake. Rubbish trucks and morning birds sing me down streets. My body clock's broke for the week. This shift pattern takes no shape of sleep, but I kind of like how this tiredness makes the world soft for a while. Now I'm seeing movie screens in the sky, treble clefs in telephone lines. My ears are ringing with 4/7/4 beats. I'm catching the film rolls under the leaves. And all around me, the buildings are sunrise bright. Oh, they're all covered in golden light. And this is my little bit of time you will never know. I kind of feel like I've created a world much more colourful than my own. In this saturated backdrop, I paint myself home. It's been a while since I left the fields with a baggy hoodie and a backpack. I grew into myself, left behind a smaller someone else. I waved goodbye to her as I pedalled out the garden gate. She always knew I couldn't stay. And now I'm riding back from work with a stack of records in my bag and glitter all over my face. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I know younger me would have painted this scene where the sky is purple and the clouds are pink and my bike's a rainbow and it's only me.
We've spent so long living in this bitter reality. We can't remember the last time we had sweet dreams. Burst the banks of so many tear ducts, it's a miracle we've not drowned in our sorrows. Dug so many 6-foot pits, you'd be forgiven for mistaking Manchester for a city of archaeologists. We've lost so many youths to the angel of death. We are now living in a new Passover. But the grim reaper rarely shows mercy, and so he rarely passes over. Instead, we're greeted with the familiar sight of police helicopters passing overhead, settling into the norm of passing over roses to honor dead soldiers who never enrolled to be a part of these street regiments. The only flags they paraded were white. But like is all too common in these parts, they quickly turn blue as they bleed red blood. I offer up a prayer, hoping that things will change, praying that the lives lost have not been lost in vain. So Father God, I pray that you heal these broken streets, because guns and knives and drugs are making too many promising futures rest in peace. And we've tried to find the remedy, but everything we do seems to always end in grief. It happens time and time and time and time again. Some treat this life as a game, so evil becomes resident on too many platforms as the corrupted seeds of our generation are gripped by a Grand Theft Auto mentality. They produce more fatalities in this Mortal Kombat. In the 80s, it was fists, but now it's clips because these gangsters have raised limits. It's been 3 decades since it started, still nobody's winning. And something's got to give in. Because we're realizing that life in Manchester feels like existence. We realize that life can disappear in an instant. And this life ain't a Western, but there are pistols at noon. Shells hurled, death lurks, bearing its menace of doom. And fumes rise from shootouts polluting the sky. We smell hate in the air, but we can't figure out why. So Father God, I pray that you heal these broken streets, because guns and knives and drugs are making too many promising futures rest in peace. We've tried to find the remedy, but everything we do seems to always end in grief. Something needs to get this message home. Hit the nail on the head. Because when a heart stops beating, and lungs stop breathing, and nerves stop feeling, it really is
Game over.
I call this poem Barbaroli Square because my father's lonely there. He's by the harbour, holding hands. I see his fair lady's golden hair, oh fair Verona blushes. Petals. Peddle me a cot death or bury me in block red, have champagne showers in some shallow amusement of a place. I mean the tramps and the tram tracks, the trance of the city, how they danced to the ditties she sung. Back when her breathing was smoother and he never knew her, that deep hallelujah she hums when she's weak. Where I fold origami tall trees, where my mother hardly calls me, where I am a broken bone of a boy, an utterance of an amen, a liquid sorry. Where as a kid I promised licorice, toffee and sticky lollipops while my grandmother knitted gollywogs in her kitchen and offered me biscuits, I am locked in to the thin skin of myself. You can call us the beautiful ugly. We were picked from the seats of the stars and fell from heaven into hoods, haciendas, houses, homes. Where by the factory wall I kissed my girl to the pogues and an Irish limerick. Apologies scrolled in ballpoint bic. We're all just blitzkrieg babies, 16, maybe younger. We're all just We're all just blurry-eyed from blue-lit friends. Saw early life through tulip lens with pearly whites and Cupid tending to them tender, tooth and nail on Tinder. They're tin men now. They're heartless now. Shit, the Wizard of Oz has sold Dorothy magic. She's an artist now. And the marching bands of Bedlam are back. They're beating the drums of war where red devils brawl beneath blue moons and thunderstorms. But this beauty is kintsugi. It's something more. You know that post-destruction pure? Well, for years it saw me feet aside. Arabica sleep deprived. It would seem that my ideas are nocturnal if 4 a.m. is when I seem to write. I haven't had a decent night since Peter died. Just glitter moon, glances glitching me to bed. Call us the sleepless dead. So yeah, if you need me, I'll be in the nearest hard-talking speakeasy with our names written and lit up in neon, flickering on and off.
The city is the missing, the statistics, the crimes, the wars, the drones, the open graves, the dead bodies, the sea, the land, the faith, the sex, the sexless, the faithless, the escape, the home, the race, the money, the debt, the pimp, the prostitute, the separation, the borders, the mundane.
The human.
They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. When they put it on me, I tell them this: I'm all about peace and love, peace and love. They're calling me a terrorist, like they don't know who the terror is. When they put it on me, I tell them this: I'm all about peace and love. My letters have been swallowed and spat out like my phonetics tasted of curdled milk. My exotic is unheard of, unworthy of pronunciation, so you proceed to commit murder with the way your intonation labels me. Every time I am addressed, I notice a little more, the refusal worn heavy on tongues unfamiliar of a being demanded to be recognized, regardless of attempts made to stamp me out. I am a force to be reckoned with. My name will bruise your mouth when you say it. So your inadequate attempts made at misreading my S as a Z because it's easier to enunciate incorrectly will not suffice. Your language held hostage my name amongst the criminals, but I am a sound your lips had caressed intimately the way you think of me. And your men want to adorn me the way your women want to lie naked on my beaches. I am the foreign, unknown territory. All the bitterness forgotten rings bittersweet because I am reminiscent of the stories my foremothers once told. Of French kisses you pushed down their throats, all so I could take your heavy notes. Load your guns like you load your words. I am disguised like the sun, but I belong to the winter. When they teach you of diaspora, just notice if these kings will utter their settling that stole my lands, but keep in their palm the name that is mine.
Brain matter by the border, bullets by the altar, pickled corpse on tabernacle, piss on arm-carved headstone mark where your children can't play. The holy hallowed tips that hold the crucifix at the pulpit, 72 virgins to bear the casket. Step to me, I dare you. Tech 9 to your dome piece, burnt out like Baki leaf. Ashes like dust in autumn breeze. I tattoo tallies of martyrs I birthed with bloodthirsty arousal. I'll mark my homeland hairline with broken graves. No tombstone on a church-made caves. I'll mark my walls with unnamed skinless faces. Build that wall so high, reality barely survives inside. So be my guest. Cross the line, leave your body behind. Azazel awaits your arrival. This is my homeland. This is my homeland. No colonials touch base here. Hardened, Helm, Kitchener, Gordon, I'll bathe in your blood. I'll fight my wars and not yours. Justice is a product of education.
I'm not asleep, and yet my wolves are. And their snores have brought the fireflies out tonight, and it's not calm, but it's not painful either. They are content. They blink for the smaller invasions, life questions, inner monologues, miniature searchings of self. The lights have no intention. They just float, pulsing back at me, gracefully whirling in and out of one another as though all afterthoughts have come together to debate their importance in a random order. The wolves are sleeping tonight, of which I am grateful, but it's safe to say they can be missed. Stillness can be unsettling, and these louds leave umami in the throat.
Face of a sculpted century-old newborn. You never miss it, but I recognized from the walk Howl's last-legged castle, like drunk pigeon. 5 months spitting filtless fog through the hours until 12 does not compute. Time-terrored history to lung-rotted youth. A stroll to the bar is to run from the truth. So he walks through the park with punk rockers blues and a vocal like gravel steps, or the imploded voice box of a squeaky chew toy catching me up on what I missed. We were just discussing whether or not that plane is going to fly into the moon. I should write about you soon. He is loosening his guard, tightening his noose. Putrid is his art, inviting is his ooze of anecdotes. But he is dying to the tunes that he forgot the words of.
I come from black-berried hedges and no shops on a Sunday. I come from pubs that will never ID and back gardens as bridal ways. I come from regular snow days and bus timetables where it's like every Monday at 3 p.m. I come from postcodes that confuse sat-navs. I come from cider trees and beaten tracks. I come from unregistered roads, bonfire smoke, village shows, and cowpat bingo. For those that don't know, cowpat bingo is when you divide a field into 100 squares and everyone in the village bets £5 on a square, and then Daisy the cow gets led into the field, and wherever she does this cowpat, you win £50, and all the other proceeds go to fixing the church roof. It's pretty great. I come from everyone passing at 17. I come from homemade bike ramps and scummy knees. I come from my mum tutting as she sews the stitches, nursing bruises in old-fashioned kitchens. I come from first job on a farm. I come from second job in a pub. Those are pretty much the only two options. I come from Brexit, wasn't really a surprise. I come from, is that where the sauce is from, right? I come from thinking I was the only gay in the village. I come from a place that was disgraced when I came out as a vegetarian. I come from making your own fun. I come from every time I first got drunk was in a field. We were trying to grow up so quickly. I come from a village that was just too small for my big ideas. In between my bedroom walls, I'd be planning escape. I wish I could go back and say, it's okay, just wait. I come from not realizing what I had until I left.
This poem is called Cut, and it's dedicated to my barber of 28 years, Paul Hilton. And it's also dedicated to the barbershops of the world who I genuinely believe keep the world running. And on a serious note, they raise men that they never fathered. This poem is called Cut. He holds my still growing crown beneath one hand of arched fingers, like a claw crane clasping a teddy in an arcade. And he cuts away 14 months of almost Samson. I'm told I never flinched. Never caused my go-to father to bury the newest diamond of his eye into the barbershop chair. Cut 2. The summer my mother cut my pocket money on account of me becoming 16. I find myself in this barbershop at least once a week. All these haircuts will wear your hairline redundant, she warns. But this place offers testosterone, reggae-fied versions of Celine Dion. And it was the safest place I could turn to when I heard my friend had died. A £5 trim. That was the summer I learned to appreciate bargains. Cut 3. The week before my 29th birthday, I tell Paul to cut it all off, to induct me into Team Malteser. I mirror watch him shrug his shoulders. And as I look, I see that this 3-year winter has worked a cul-de-sac of my hairline, amongst other austerity I survived. When he is finished and I am brushed clean, I look him in the eye and tell him, yeah, it's your best haircut to date. And I mean it.
I never wrote verses for persons in preferal of verisimilitude. I've come to the conclusions I find my perfects in isn't truths and universes within you. I could swear these avenues rose to my feet when I was young. Before I'd become even a helix doubled in DNA, before I'd ever seen a 9 thrice on the phone, before those zeitgeists led me home so I could typewrite let me go, before this poetry left me lonely for a year. Oh, it was a solstice for the stanzaless. I tried to call you up like Candyman, chant your name and conjure you, whose hands were held at back behind when you fell from grace. My friends seldom faced in public. They just sent cubic, pixeled, cupid kisses. You've been missing, child. Missing like that purse you stole. No, missing like ran from burdened home, and now your eyes, they yearn to close. What's wrong, my boy? Did you forget you'd come dressed as a jester to the jousting party? Do you doubt me, darling? Is the plaque on the pond not pretty enough? Boy, you used to beg for just one crumb from slice of humble pie at the dungeon dine. Now you've spent your parents' keep on keeping up appearances. Your parents keep on keeping up appearances. They'll take you young. You should have listened. You never did get on with the rich kids, eh? Instead, Your friends tend to be gifted blade for Christmas Day. Oh, the irony. Of course, there's no room for romance when these roads have rivalry, when postcodes are binary. What are we made of? Bring me 12 pints of blood, 7 sheets of skin, and I shall bring you back a boy by the blue balloons, a boy, and he'll be sitting on the block every day, wasting time.
We are fragile fragments of ash. Learning to accept change like hearing the news and not despairing. It's watching lives survive and leave wards and finding laughter in new eyes. It's surviving in the grey. It's placing naivety in a box and shelving it as unwanted. It's allowing yourself to be guided in tunnels. Surrendering to the abundance of spring, meditating, jarwaning in a hammock in Malaga, knowing winter's not that far behind on Great Ancoat Street. We remain defiant through decline, while drawing strength from each other. It's raving to levels, just off the Curry Mile in your red bra and big knickers under the full moon, believing in Nana's knowledge of what she called science, while understanding lonely and the beauty of solitude. It's 86 bus journeys from Piccadilly Gardens, just after swapping bodies, saying sorry, and text messages saying, I love you. It's the Rayman Uncle G on the same bus home. He counsels carbon spirits after a night out. He counsels carbon spirits after a night out. It's Friday prayers filled with hope. Karaoke Saturdays at the Angel Pub. It's lazy days and Yorkshire pudding Sundays. It's constant cranes on my Mancunian skylines. It's no endings. It's new beginnings. We are fragile fragments of ash. Let's marshal our minds. Let's fight the invisible. Let's not lament about the past as we embrace the change. We are fragile fragments of ash.
Back when we were dreaming, all the way back when we were dying to get old, all the way back before these feelings, all the way back, I'm talking all the way back when we were dreaming, all the way back when we were dying to get old, all the way back before these feelings,
All the way back, I'm talking all the way back.
Nike tick shaving in the side of my head. Air Max 90s got me feeling nice when I step. I've got hormones raging inside of my chest and the street like curfews, but sometimes we just decide to forget. And I know I'm gonna get it later, because the neighbor told my mum about our behavior. Pitch and toss, calm minding in the moss. We've been trying to stack the paper, and we've lost our youth to these antics. BMX rides, no-handed, we took chances. Rode our luck like tomorrow was access granted. We are dying to get old. Now we're lamenting the way back and the simpler times that we've known.
All the way
Back when we were dreaming, all the way back when we were dying to get old, all the way back before these feelings, All the way back, I'm talking all the way back. All the way back when we were dreaming. All the way back when we were down together. All the way back before these feelings. All the way back.
All the way back.
Garage Nation, tape packs and days that seem to last forever. Wembley with goalpost sweaters and rock pots that pop balls and scratch the leather. Till the weather drives us home. But there's no place we'd rather be. Dragon Ball Z episodes got us tuned in for the next week. It was WF before it was ever WE.
Facts.
You know, we tried that at home. We shed tears for Sawbones and zoned out to Channel U 373. We based with MTV because these roles carried way too much risk. And the way back's been making grown men from us little kids. All the way back when we were dreaming. All the way back when we were down together. All the way back before these feelings. All the way back, I'm talking all the way back. All the way back when we were dreaming. All the way back when we were down together. All the way back before these feelings. All the way back, I'm talking all the way back. All the way back when we were dreaming. All the way back when we were down together. All the way back before these feelings. All the way back, I'm talking all the way back. All the way back when we were dreaming. All the way back when we were down together. All the way back before these feelings. All the way back, I'm talking all the way back.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to us and being a wonderful audience with lovely smiley faces. It makes us so much easier. So yeah, I'm just going to leave you guys and listen. Thank you so much for coming and listening to our poetry.
Power, Lord, Nina cried
So I said they were going to do a grime set at the end as well. And we were like, oh, you see now, bring it on. So having seen Michael and Liz and all of the wonderful writers that were here today, I'll start again. This week, they were like, we want to do one of them Q&A things. We want to have a chat. And so here I am. I'm going to chat to everyone. Where's Billy gone? Oh, do you know what? Should we do it?
No.
All right, so she's going to kill me now. So a few years ago, we did a big event. And, look, she's going to kill me.
No.
All right. So we did this big event at the South Bank in London. And Billy had arranged to meet her uncle. And I'd forgotten. And we sent out a search party because Billy had gone. So we started to shout, where's Billy? I didn't mean to do that just then, by the way. Okay. It's never going to die. Where's Billy? So the question is, why do you write, Reese?
My story, and I'll be honest, I started off as a rapper, but I was never any good. No, but on a serious note, it kind of coincided with, I had a mentor at high school. I was always getting into trouble. 14 fights I had in high school, I counted a couple of weeks ago. And I had a mentor, and he basically said, all the things that you get into fights about that get you annoyed, or all the things you say to teachers that end you in detention, imagine you just had a book and you wrote it all down. I was like, whoa, that sounds pretty cool. Like, I could, write a rap song and diss my teacher or something like that. But now I kind of started to write as therapy, really, and realised I was a lot better at poetry than I was at rapping. So,
and can you tell me when you started in the project?
I started in this project in 2007, so...
And can you tell me what your role in the project is now?
Yeah, I'm like a director of the project, and I was one of the co-directors, so yeah, it's like progressed right through.
Work for nothing?
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm going to ask some really kind of... Sometimes I say I facilitate a space. So I offer young identity writers a space. They're already writing when they come to me, even if they're 11 or 12 or whenever they come, they're already writing. So I kind of facilitate a space and offer up different types of canons for people to read and to dive into. So today, going to the House of Poésie was absolutely wonderful because we didn't know that was a resource in that way and that it was online and there was so much that we could see. I'm going to ask Saf. That last one was very heavy. Why?
Well, my parents are from Sudan and I was born in Kenya, both British colonial countries that were under British colonies. And yeah, so colonial rule has been something that's it's imprinted in my life because of the experiences of after the thing happened, and it's just always been part of me. And since we're talking about cities, I figured I'd have to talk about something from the city I was born, that represents the city I was born, Nairobi, and the city where my parents come from, Juba in South Sudan, and Khartoum in the north. And then, so these are things that are very important to me, so I had to talk about it. And
what is your poem called?
It's called, the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Brain Matter by the Border.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Nicole. She just gave me a dirty look. Nicole is my daughter.
Hello, Mom. She's my mom, Shirley.
She doesn't call me. She doesn't call me Mom. She calls me Shirley everywhere, and she calls me Mom at home when she wants me to get her something. So, Nicole, can you remember when you started to get involved in Young Identity, or when was your first poetry experience?
So, my mum lives, breathes, and eats poetry. She told me that, won't go on about a poetry life. But no, so I started writing when I was about 11. And Mum was like, "You're really good, you know. Keep writing." I was like, "Okay." So then my mum set up Young Identity in 2006, and then she kind of made me come. She needed participants, so she's like, "Oh, come to poetry."
Don't tell the funders.
So no, that's our little in joke. But there was loads of young people at the time. So Young Identity was set up at Powerhouse in Moss Side. So I don't know if anyone knows about Powerhouse from Manchester. My mum was working there at the time, and there was loads of writers. So I was one of the founder members in 2006. And then from there, I've just continued writing. And I think for me, it's because my mum's a writer, and she's an amazing writer. Her book's also at the bookshop. It's amazing. It actually made me cry. I'm really a critical person when I'm reading poetry as well. And I actually read the book, and I was like, "Mum, that book's really good."
Thank you.
But on a separate note, and then I'll stop talking, it was literally like, you just really encouraged me to keep going. And I found like I needed to make my own voice outside of my mum in Manchester, and Young Identity gave me that platform to have my own voice through my poetry.
So Jardel, I'm going to talk to Jardel about why he came to poetry and why Young Identity. And what did you start off in terms of Battle of the Mind?
All right, cool. So I've always described writing as like the only thing that I've ever been good at. And I was always like bad at sports. I'm just not really into or good at anything else. I've never really excelled at anything. I was the kind of kid, like I wasn't really in school. If I was in school, then I was in isolation for the stuff that I did when I was last in school. So I'd just walk out because obviously I don't want to sit in isolation all day. You know what I mean? But
I was a mentor at that school as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were in isolation.
Yeah. I started writing, like I remember writing a song about the star on the Christmas tree when I was like 5, but I started rapping when I was like 11. I was actually pretty good, unlike Reese. I was actually pretty good, innit? But and then when I got to about 16, obviously I wasn't really into poetry in school, because obviously in year 10 I'm like, yeah, Shakespeare is shit, mates, in a bit, you know what I mean? But nah, it's cool. So I was writing, and I found this stuff on YouTube, spoken word poetry. I was like, whoa, what is this? Do you know what I mean? It's just the same, but there's no regulations to it. You know, you don't have to fit in meter. You can be a bit more expansive. And I just kind of fell in love with like language from there. And I just want to say, I've got my GCSEs back, and I'm now in university, and you get me. That's all because of Young Identity. That's all because of Young Identity. I hate to think of like where I'd be now if I didn't have that, if I didn't get in touch with, if I didn't get in with this circle, and I wasn't pushed to go and return to education. And yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Should we open it out? Yes. Any questions? Thank you, Billy. Go on. I'm going to let Billy take over now, actually. Go, Bill.
Okay, hello again. No, I think, we'll open it out if anyone else has any other questions. Also, plug, we have a book, which is over there, and it's a selection of us from the group who published end of last year. It was a massive project that we undertook, and all the writers and editors, and it was kind of a passion project. It's our first anthology called No Disclaimers, so please pick it up if you enjoyed what we see. €10 or 2 for 20, as I've been told by our producer Reese. Michael.
Could I just ask Shirley May, since Shirley May's been asking other people questions. Shirley, what you set this amazing project up. What was can you remember your process of thought? What made you think? I mean, you obviously knew that there were people writing who had talent that wasn't being recognized, but it's a big step from that to setting up this. How did you go about that?
Well, I was a part of a collective for 10 years that was called Speakeasy, and we were like the old beat poets, so that I do a lot of my poetry to jazz and stuff like that. And a friend of mine within the organisation started working for Apples and Snakes, which is claims to be the leading poetry organisation in the whole of England. And yeah, they work with a lot of people, but they're not the only one. Mic drop. Anyway, I do love them. I do work with Lisa a lot, and we're about to do Contain Strong Language, and she's going to be managing that end of it, and I'm going to be managing a bit of the Northwest for the BBC. So how did I start Young Identity? It was born out of Speakeasy, and one member working for Apples and Snakes, who was from our collective, who said to me he wanted me to do a slam at Warwickshire University, and it was called the Word Cup. And it was at the time of the World Cup in 2006. I know, hella awful. Anyway, there was a group of young people who, from Powerhouse, that I'd begun to recognise could write, because I was the homework coordinator for Manchester City Libraries. And so I was working with people doing their homework. So you know the ones that can write and are really doing really well. And the ones who were spitting, like Jardel. And one of them, so we did this slam. Nicole was actually one of the poets in the slam. She won a place. She had to win a place as well. She didn't just get it. There was no nepotism out here. No, there wasn't. She's had to, every step of the way, she's had to work for whatever she's doing. And she even in the city, she goes. Anyway, I'm digressing. The question is, how did I start this? They do it all the time. So it was a slam. Look, they're actually feeding me information on the stage. So I started a slam. No, I didn't. They went to a slam, won the slam. No, you won best lyrical lines at the slam. And we've actually never won a slam as a team. So every national slam that there's ever been in England, we've come best lyrical lines. But what they decided was that they would rather that the content was good rather than a massive big, performance that had a load of choraling. As you can see, their choraling was crap. Sorry, you did it just a little bit. Anyway, sorry. I tell the truth. That's the one thing I do. I tell the truth. And basically, they didn't stop coming back. So the library was open late on a Tuesday, and this group that went off to Warwickshire University kept coming back on Tuesday, and I kept saying to them, I'm sorry, it's finished. My freelance is over. Go away. But they kept coming back, and they kept coming back for 10 years. I'm not even joking. 12 now. And I tried a few weeks ago, I thought, let me just go into we have a closed page that is just for Young Identity members. And I thought, right, I'll start inboxing people who have not been for a long time and just ask them to leave, basically. We've not seen you at a gig, you've not been to a writing work. And I was inboxing. People go, no, we've not left. We're on hiatus, we will be back. And that's the one thing about Young Identity that I love, and that's what it's grown from, is people never leaving. And Nicole's telling me to shut up, Mum. Okay. Any more questions?
So how do people join Young Identity? If it's been going for a long time, like what's the process of a new person joining?
Turn up.
Okay, I'm in.
Do you want to answer?
Yeah. How do you? Well,
maybe some of you just tell us, how did you join? How did you hear about it?
Turn up. No, we run workshops in the city. We have 2 a week. One is at Home Theatre, and one is at Powerhouse, which is crazy. Yeah, at Contact, in the Powerhouse building at the moment. And that's how it has been, like I said, for 10 years, 7 to 9. We turn up, we write, we read together, we brainstorm, we have workshops, we have guest poets come in, and that's what it has been for 10 years. And we create work, we devise theatre, anything and everything. And that is, it's just consistency every Tuesday for 12 years. And now we have Mondays as well, which, has upwards of 20, 25 young people coming a week. How did I join? I wrote this blog post this one time when I was 14. And then Shirley May read it and was like, you should turn up. So I turned up. And ever since then, I've been writing. I've been trying to run away. But no, and it is just that. It's one workshop. And now, if not all of us on this stage, live and work as performance poets. And it's how we earn a living. We are workshop facilitators, producers, and we work in the arts. It feeds us. It puts food on our table or not. And it's born out of these workshops and just the skills that we have, and the fact that we get to do this for a living is incredible and a massive privilege. So yeah.
Can I get a question just before? Sorry. I thought, really thought it was tremendous, and from a wee bit of what you were saying the other night, everybody's sleeping in late but working very late into the morning, and I just wondered, what else are you doing? What next for you guys? Or what else are you doing as well as this? Because it sounds like you're all quite creative and quite busy.
There's a few things we're working on. First thing I wanted to say, which we've not mentioned yet, which is really exciting, is about 6 weeks ago, we got our charity status through from the Charity Commission in England, so we're officially a charity now, which is really, really exciting. So we're no longer a project anymore, which is really, really exciting. And we've got a patron in the house, but really exciting stuff. We're working in partnership with a range of really exciting organisations, such as the Manchester International Festival. So we've been commissioned to work alongside an organisation called the Dream Ring from New York to put together a production which explores physical theatre and dance and spoken word, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And you should all come to Manchester and watch it, we're working with City Council. There's loads of organisations up and down the country that we're doing really exciting projects. Yep. So we have a partner project within Young Identity that's called Wordsmith. So we go into schools, right up from primary school up to secondary school and colleges, do workshops, put on slams.
All right. Does anybody else want to say what we've got going on? Because I know that you're in. Okay. All right. So we're always working, and trust me, this is not Young Identity. Young Identity, we could have brought 40, 50 young people who dedicate themselves to writing. Sometimes I go into Nicole's writing workshop on a Monday, we're trying to get Michael. But his diary is so full. And he has promised to come. I can't even do that to him because he has promised to come. But sometimes we'll have 29 young people turn up for a workshop. And we do split it up, and it's just ridiculous.
But I think in terms of other things that we do, we're all working in the arts. So my other job is I'm a theatre producer. Billy does graphic design as well. Yeah, Liv does events. So Nasima's, all of us have like arts jobs as well as being writers, poets. Yeah, but we've got loads of shows coming up. If you look on our website, you can see the details of upcoming shows. Is there any more? Any more questions?
Don't ask me any questions. He is doing lighting and sound engineer, so we will have a lighting and sound engineer soon in-house. So what they do is they go off to university, they do things and they bring those things back, and then they support the new poets coming up.
Do we have any more questions? Oh, wow. Let's get comfortable, guys.
Hi, that was a really nice performance. I noticed the group dynamic. Well, first of all, you all seem really like different people, but the group dynamic was really beautiful to watch, and I really feel like it helped shape the performance. My question was it like that when you met, or did you have to work on it?
Never, ever worked on it. Do you know, Young Identity is actually like a family. Like, I'm not even kidding. I call her mum. I'm her other daughter, especially when Nicole's away. Um, but like jokes aside, honestly, we're like a bunch of best friends who are really close, and we write together. And yeah, there's another question, I think. Yeah?
Right, so first of all, I just wanted to say that you guys made me tear up because I've been living in Manchester for 2 years, and I've been gone from Manchester for about 6 months, and I had not realized that I missed it.
Come back.
I will next year. Need to finish my degree.
Just come
yeah, because it's such an overwhelming city. Like, it's such a complicated city. So I have such complicated feelings towards the city. And yeah. But you guys, like people like you, are what I've always loved about Manchester. That it just has that energy. And yes, very long premise, but my question is, does any of you go to the University of Manchester, just out of curiosity? Hey. Nice, okay.
Graduate of Leeds, graduate of Manchester, graduate of LIPA, graduate of Bolton. LIPA is the Paul McCartney thing, graduate of LIPA, the Paul McCartney thing. I don't know what it is. So that's Nicole and Nasima, Bolton University. Student of Salford University.
I'm also at Salford, yeah.
But then we always end up coming back to Manchester. Like, some of us will disappear for 2, 3, 4 years at a time, and we'll just turn up one day and that's it, we're back again. So we never left.
We do have a younger group, but we bring. Sorry. We do have younger members of the group. So the group starts from 13 to 25, and we got to 25 because as Reese got older, he just kept changing the age. And when we did, Reese wrote quite a lot of the articles for the charity because he also did law before he went into the arts. Because so he wrote quite a lot of the articles, and one of the articles has now moved the age group up. So we are now 13 to 30. Yeah. And I think, is any final questions? There's one final question.
Hi, yeah, that was great. Thank you very, very much. I was just curious because I was talking at lunch with some other writers here at the seminar. We're mostly novelists or short story writers, and we were saying we didn't read a lot of poetry, although actually then when we started thinking about it, we could name a lot of poets who we loved. And so a lot of those were actually poets that we'd read at school. And I wondered, who are the poets that you love, and are any of them poets you read at school?
These guys?
There's one guy called Saul Williams. He's a performance poet. He's just a poet, and let's scrap the word performance poet. There's no difference, right? It's just that I read page poetry, but I perform it well, innit? Say no more. Get me? There's a guy called Saul Williams. He's really good. I think like what he does with rhyme and rhythm, and his books are an interesting blend of performance poetry and page poetry. Sylvia Plath, because I think she talks a lot about mental health in a way that's very. Yeah, everybody loves Sylvia Plath, man. I've developed this weird crush kind of on her, but somebody else.
Owen, do you have a favourite poet? Just one, man. Just one. You can do me one.
I can't remember his name.
I thought you liked Simon Armitage.
Oh yeah, Simon Armitage is my favourite. Yep.
That was the name he was looking for.
MF Doom.
And he likes MF Doom, who is a rapper. Favourite poet?
Oh, I don't have a favourite.
Anybody who you like? Anybody?
I like Shirley May. I always enjoy Shirley May.
Buy my book, it's over there. It's my first collection. I finally had a year that when we were writing everything up for the charity, so I took a little step back and managed to finish a book that I'd had hanging around for a while. So although it's finished, it feels old, and I'm already starting the new one. Do have a look at it. It's called She Wrote Her Own Eulogy, and on the front of it, my mum's on the cover with the 2 children that she was a nanny for. My mother always kept journals and told stories about her life in Jamaica. So the book is a little bit about that. Thank you for saying that I was your favourite poet. Who's your favourite poet, sir?
Philip Larkin is one. Philip Larkin. It's great. It's specifically a poem called Ambulances, if you've heard it. Ambulances. It's like the best poem I've ever read. And the rest are all really rappers, isn't it? So, yeah.
I'd kind of echo that. When I was in school, I didn't really read enough poetry probably, but I did listen to very poetic people. Tupac, Biggie Smalls, that kind of stuff. Who I'm reading now, Vladimir Lucian, who's an amazing St. Lucian poet. And yeah, his work is absolutely mind-blowing.
Hey guys. Yeah, I was massively influenced by hip hop and rap, but also just lyrics. I feel like some of my favourite poets are actually musicians as well. I think Justin Vernon is probably up there with one of my favourite lyricists. But my favourite poet is Keisha Thompson. She's from Manchester, and I think she's amazing.
Yeah. And also a former member of
Yeah.
Mike.
It was really strange what happened. So Keisha was working on a book that's got a lot of numerology inside of the book. Isaiah was, who is one of our poets called Isaiah Hall. We hoped he was coming to this time to hear, but he was like, he got one of the TV ads with Jardel, and he went, I'm having some time off, man. So he's a poet that's having a bit of time off. So he got a book, Keisha got a book, and I got a book all at the same time. I think they were launched 1 month after each other. And as well as, so I'm going to give this to Jardel.
Right, I just want to say one thing. So yeah, like I say, Shirley May, she's released a book. It's She Wrote Her Own Eulogy. There's the Young Identity book, which it's got all of us. There's some more ones, no disclaimers, absolute fire. You know, and as individuals as well as young people, we're very serious about writing. Some of us are at the stage now where we want to be progressing and coming out with our own individual collections. If you're somebody that can make that happen, if you want to talk, if you want to make some money, let's go, you know what I mean? But yo, have you enjoyed Young Identity? Yeah? Thank you very much, guys.